Welcome back to Girl Talk, Real Talk with your host, Lillian Perez. I have a special guest today with me, Stephanie Howard. How are you?
Whoop, whoop. I'm good, girl. It's Friday. I got a job, and I got a few things to do. So she's not complaining.
In this series of The Truth About College, I want to talk about the severity of student homelessness because it is not spoken about or shed light on as much as it should be. And Stephanie and I connected really well over this, and we were able to relate to one another. And when was it, Stephanie? This was like 2 years ago, was it?
Almost 2 years ago.
When we first crossed.
A little bit over. Mm-hmm.
When we first crossed, we were just neos, and we were in the vehicle. We went to go to Feed the Streets to do some food packaging, and we went to go pick up some blankets. But where was it that we went to go pick up the blankets?
We went to Family Promise of Denver.
And that means a lot to you.
Absolutely.
Go ahead.
Absolutely. Well, I first found out about Family Promise of Denver because my son and I experienced homelessness ourselves. And it wasn't like an instance where, I'm lazy, I don't want to work, and, just found myself homeless. I just couldn't afford my place, man. Like, it just got hella expensive, And I had to make a decision of what was going to be better for my family. Was it going to be like trying to work 2 jobs and keep my son in daycare all day with somebody who I didn't know and didn't trust? Or was I just going to let it go, and admit to someone that I needed help, that I could not afford this place on my own and I needed something affordable? So already having an eviction notice on my door and counting down the days to when the sheriff was going to show up, someone told me about Family Promise. And so I gave them a call, told them my situation, and they told me to come down. And so I went down there, and they did like this short interview process. I told them what was going on, and I was just straight up with them, like, look, I'm working, I'm in school, I'm, out here in these streets, like, doing my best. I'm not just lazy, and I need help. I'm not looking for a handout. I'm looking for a hand up, a level up. And so they understood, and they accepted me into their program and gave us housing. We were in that on-the-go shelter. It's a mobile shelter, so it travels. It's not in the same place consistently. And they're hosted by a string of churches that provide housing 7 days at a time for for families. It's specifically for families because I'm not sure if you know, but Colorado has this thing, with the shelters where if you're a married couple and you have children, the mother can come, the children can come, but your husband is like, SOL. Sorry, you can't hang out with us.
I did not know that.
Yeah, so Family Promise made it a part of their mission and their value to only accept families. You've got to have a family to be able to get into this shelter. So we got approved and found ourselves there and working through this program, getting the case management and the services. We eventually were able to exit out of the program. Well, actually, we got kicked out. Girl, I got kicked out. So I wasn't being like, a rebel or anything like that. But they did have a specific rule that if you did not eat dinner with the group every night and stayed overnight somewhere else other than Family Promise or the church that was hosting you, then you weren't homeless, that you were possibly impending homeless and not actually homeless. And so one night I just got tired. I just got tired of all the people. I got tired of there not being doors. I never appreciated a door until I went through homelessness. And I just got fed up with being around all these people consistently, and I just wanted some privacy. I just wanted a quiet, peaceful place to stay for a night in a comfortable, warm bed. And so being that I was still working, I took some of my money and I got a hotel room for my son and I for the night, and we ordered some pizza and just like got to have some privacy.
Yeah.
And I ended up calling my caseworker the next day, and I was like, look, I know I didn't show up for dinner. Look, this is what it was. I know what the rules are. However, I just really needed some peace of mind. And even though I was truthful and upfront, they were like, well, you know the rules, Stephanie. We're going to have to exit you from the program. And so I respected that. I didn't expect them to treat me any different than anyone else coming into the program. However, I knew that they had a ton of resources. And so I continued to show up anytime they had budgeting classes, anytime they had nutritional classes, whatever it is that they had to offer as far as resources. I kept, showing up there. And when they kept seeing my face, they found out who I was and they asked me to be a part of the company. They first asked me to be a part of the advisory board. And so I came in and helped out with the advisory board. And the next thing I know, I found myself with an application to be an actual board member. And so that's how my relationship blossomed or developed with Family Promise. And so this day that we met, I had talked to the director and I told her that we were going to do this Feed the Streets and if there was anything that that she could provide to be able to help make this experience a little bit better for some of the people that we were going to assist. And she said that they had just got a huge donation of blankets. And so I had mentioned it to you and we were heading down to Family Promise, girl, to go get the blankets.
And here we are today.
Yeah.
I think it was beautiful because that's when it's really hard to come across people or students who experience homelessness or independency because, first of all, it kind of makes me personally, when I came across somebody else and they're like, oh, where do you live now? And it's just like, when I was going through that, it's difficult to talk about because it's like, well, first of all, I don't even know you that well. So I'm not going to give you all the details just like that. And it's hard because it's a day in, day out struggle where it's like you hit a roadblock and you're like, honestly, all right now that matters is like, where am I going to sleep and what am I going to eat? And as a student is so difficult because you're trying to keep up with your classes, my assignments, meeting with my advisors still, having a sense of community, still trying to go to church and have it all together. When I was going through all of this, I think I had just recently gotten out of my homelessness situation. So it was really easy for me to open up to you, and you were open and transparent with me, and that's how we connected.
Absolutely.
And that sense of community. And I know that something else happened when you had left Family Promise and you were living, I think, in the place where you're at right now, when you were telling me how God was working with you because you were saying that you went to go apply or you didn't get approved or something about the rent. Do you remember?
What was happening with the rent?
Where it was like, oh, don't worry about it. Come back later. The management.
Oh my goodness, girl. I don't even know what happened to lead me to the place to where I got behind in this rent. Oh, well, I was a licensed cosmetologist and I was practicing cosmetology, and I actually had my salon open while I was homeless. And it just got to be difficult because the churches that were hosting us, they were in different places. And so it was hard to get back to my salon, get there on time, be able to service my clients, and then make it back before curfew. A grown woman, had a curfew. And if I didn't meet curfew, they wouldn't let you in, So it just got a little bit difficult managing that salon. And so I had to let it go. And that was my income. I had been a stylist since about, I got my license in 2010. And I hadn't punched a clock or worked in corporate America since that time. And this was around 2018 or 2017, maybe. Oh, no. When I was homeless, it was about 2016. So I had already been licensed for about 6 years, working for myself, being a business owner, entrepreneur, making my own schedule. And I had to make a decision to give this up because I knew that if I wanted a home for my son and I, that we had to make it, back and forth to this place. But so I ended up closing down the salon before I ended up getting my actual place. And because it was transitional housing, one of the requirements was for you to have some sort of income. And so when I got into the house, I ended up having to take this little job with Fantastic Sam's. And I was by no means making the same amount of money as a salon owner now as just a, just a regular cosmetologist and making commissions. So they were taking a portion of my check as well. So I got behind in the rent because I had rent, I had lights, I had food, I had gas, everything, And my rent got 9 months behind. It was 9 months. Girl.
Oh my God.
Who does that? Like, that's almost all year. But, and I will say but in this instance because it nullifies everything that I just said. My landlord, Jose, forgive me if I pronounce this wrong, if he's listening, Jose Padajoa Vasquez. Anyway, it's Jose, y'all, up at the coalition. Shout out to Jose. All right. Like, I would talk to Jose every day, and he always saw me running down the street because I'm riding the bus, I'm riding the train, and I'm always running after a bus, girl. So I would always talk to him and let him know like what I was going on, that I was in school, that I was still working, that I was homeschooling my child, and that I was doing all these things in the community to still be relevant, and just still be active and not let the negative feelings and the oppression and depression that comes with being unhoused. I tried not to let that affect me. I made it my point not to let that affect me. And so I kept open communication with him. And I feel like he saw something in me. He knew that I just wasn't somebody who was looking for a handout and just trying to skirt the system or just trying to, get over. He saw that I was actually a strong woman out here working and trying to make a way for myself and for my child. So he was graceful with me. He was gracious to me. Like, he didn't even put an eviction letter on my door. He never put no notes or anything like that. If I saw him, it was like at one point, I don't know, maybe I was like 2 months behind or something. I was like, oh God, I'm 2 months behind. I don't want to see Jose. I see him, girl. And I'm like, hey, Jose. He like, yeah, Stephanie, I know I ain't got that rent yet. But he would still not put a note or anything on my door. It was like, he was just, again, he was so gracious with me. And finally, I had ended up getting financial aid through MSU Denver. And I didn't realize that if you had a substantial change in your budget, that you could visit financial aid and you can tell them, hey, I'm having this struggle. I had a change in my budget and I need a little bit more. Well, I talked to my financial aid counselor and they were able to issue me a little bit more money, and I was able to catch all of that rent back up.
Federal grant, or was that a loan?
That was federal. Oh, it was a combination. It was grant money that I didn't have to pay back, and it was also a disbursement from loans that I had gotten. Okay. And so it's like you had the option to be able to, like, if your tuition was maybe $2,000 or something like that, you had the option to be able to request a little bit more for any need that was related to being able to be a student and be successful at MSU. And obviously, having your rent paid, your lights on, and food in your belly is a good way to help be a good student and help you focus and things of that nature. So I was approved to be able to get the extra money and use that to pay my rent, to be able to stay in school and, have a place to stay. So yeah, he waited 9 months for that money. I kept telling him, just Jose, just give me a chance. I'm working on something. And he believed me. He believed in me. And again, he was gracious with me and he didn't kick us out.
I truly believe, Stephanie, that God's favor is over you.
Girl, look, I ain't even gonna deny that.
Everywhere, every time we meet up, it's always like, girl, I gotta tell you something. This and this happened. And then you're like, but hold up. But then this and this. And now I'm like, oh, every time. Every single time.
Yes, it is. And it's crazy because it's like, I wish that the blessings would just come without the trials, because it's like the trials are the setup for the comeback. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. And I've kind of been able to identify that as I've matured and evolved in life, to not resist change. Change just is. It's a constant. It's something that's always going to come. However, I feel like if you welcome it and you have a different attitude and perspective about it, it can be one of the most amazing things that you look forward to just in general on a day-to-day. Something to change, So I appreciate it. I feel like it's evolving me and it's maturing me. So I welcome change. I don't resist the change. I don't run from it any longer because I know greatness comes out of change and tribulation.
Always. It makes you stronger.
Girl.
Mm-hmm. How was I'm curious to see how, so you would say your experience with the financial aid office was positive. They were able to help you out when you needed it.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely. They were very informative. And even like, I know sometimes, I can only speak for myself. I know coming to the window, knowing that we have student employees helping, I would get a little anxious or concerned because I'd be like, oh, do they really know what I need? Are they really going to be able to help me? Are they aware of all the options? And when I first started visiting there, I would ask, is it possible I could speak to a counselor? Can I speak to someone in the back, And they'd be like, well, just give me your 900 number, girl. Let me know what's going on. Yeah. And I'd be like, ooh, I really wanted to speak to an advisor, like I want to get behind the wall. That's who's behind there doing all the work. That's who I want to talk to. Mm-hmm. But I came to learn that, they're just like anybody else. They have to train and they have to get experience as well to know ways to help us. And I've gotten some of the most help that was beneficial to me from some of the students on the front lines, like right at the desk, like, oh, girl, I know exactly how to help you. Like just recently, I was able to get some assistance from a young lady at the financial aid desk who walked me personally over to the registrar and showed me how to get something done. So it was just like that sense of community, again. And I feel like being able to put yourself in a place of being exposed. I had to kind of expose myself and say, hey, you know,
Yeah.
I've got this problem. I'm not really sure how to solve it and what to do. I don't even know if you can help me, but if you have a moment, I would love to share with you what's going on. And if you could help me, or you know someone who can, I'd just be very appreciative. And when you come in with that attitude, I feel like people are more willing to be able to help you, and not only help you, but go above and beyond, because she didn't have to get up and like leave the financial aid office and go and walk me down to someone she knew would take care of me. So that within itself, you know, I feel like, again, that's grace and that's blessing working out for you. But you got to have that open mind and be open to exposing yourself and receiving a little bit of help.
Yeah, that's interesting that you say that, because I recently went to an event where me and Kelsey, which is another person here at Met Media, and that's where we met, and it was bringing light to student homelessness. And so of course I was like, bam, I'm there, bet, like I'm there, that's me. I know what that feels like. And there was like a panel there, and there were students were asking questions, so and so, and so I went up there because I had a question, and I was treated very curtly at the financial aid office when this happened. I was very disappointed, and when I went, so everything that happened at home, so I had left. I was told to leave my house by my mother, because she said, if you can't respect and obey my husband, you can't be here. And after 4 years of just like domestic violence, of just verbal abuse, it really gets to you, because having somebody tell you like, you ain't nothing, you think you're all that, you're gonna end up pregnant and married, you're lazy. When you have those words beaten into your head for a certain amount of time, your mind is so powerful that it starts to believe them. And
that's a seed.
My self-esteem like was as much as strong, and I tried pushing through it. Like, it still affected me regardless if I saw it or not. Right now, now I can see how it did. But once my mother had told me that, I was like, are you serious? Like, are you for real right now? And she's like, yeah. And plus you owe me this much money. When are you going to be out?
Oh, girl.
And I thought she was bluffing, but I should have known better. My mom doesn't bluff. Like, what she says, she means. And I just remember like, is this really happening? Like, because I'm not leaving. I was like, over my dead body, I'm going to respect him. Like, he doesn't deserve my respect, nor yours, nor my brother's, nor anybody in this family. And I remember I was washing dishes, and then I went to my room, and I was just like praying in my head. I was like, God, like, show me a sign, show me a sign. And at that time, my dad was in rehab, and so he's not allowed to speak to me. And I had gotten a text from him like right then and there. And I was like, that's it, I'm out. And that's when it occurred to me, like, why would I stay? And it was the first blizzard. I remember it was January 4th. That day means a lot to me. January 4th, 2017. And I packed as much as I could in my basketball sports bag. My mom was in her room discussing with her husband, and I grabbed the keys and I left. And I remember my mom telling me, like, if you leave, don't ever come back. And so I left, and that was like the first time I told my dad everything that had gone. Like, I went straight to his rehab center, and I was like crying. He's like, what's wrong? What's going on? And I had told him everything. And it was he was livid. He was like, I knew something was going on. Why didn't you tell me? I knew it. I just knew I should have listened to my intuition. Every time I asked you, I just could see it in you and Livan, which is my younger brother. And I had to ask him, like, Dad, don't do anything, because I knew the moment I was gonna tell my dad, like, that was it. Like, my dad carries, like, I know what my dad's capable of. Like, he doesn't care, and especially if it comes to his children, like, he's gonna throw down. He doesn't care. And I was like, Dad, don't do anything, because if you do, like, I'm gonna lose you, and that I don't need that right now. And he did not want to promise me, but I was like, Dad, you need to promise me that you're not gonna do anything. And he's like, okay, so then what are we going to do? And we were going to try to stay with some of the other people that go to that rehab center. He's like, so-and-so has extra room, but I just didn't feel comfortable. And I reached out to some of my family members, and I was like, you know what? These family members know what has been going on for the past 4 years. And 6 years, at that time it was 6 years. I'm going to go with them. So I asked them, I was like, hey, are you guys home? And my aunt and my uncle were like, yeah, like, come over. So I went, and they had company over. So I waited till the company was gone, and we just kind of sat at the living room, and that's when I was like, you know what? this is happening. This is what happened just now. Can I stay here? And they were like, you know what, definitely, for sure. And they're like, how long do you think? And I was like, honestly, I don't know.
Don't you hate that question?
It's just
Girl,
like,
they want you to know.
Yeah, and I'm just like, I don't know. I really don't know. All I know is that I'm not welcome back, even if I wanted to go back.
Yeah.
And I didn't want to go back because, no, like, why? It was mentally draining. Like, as soon as I stepped into my mother's household, like, my whole mood changed. Like, I was just pissed off already. I noticed now that as I got older and reflected, I noticed that my relationship with other people, I was very snappy, very attitude driven, very just like, and I actually went out of my way to apologize to those like specific people that I knew that I was snappy and attitude, but I never understood why.
Yeah.
It would be like, oh, hey, Lily, can you do this for me? And I do it with the attitude, you know, and it's just, now I understand, like, well, that was my environment at home, and me trying to step away from that, like, that was just so clouded in my mind, and I was just so mentally exhausted from that. But anyway, so I was in my second semester of my freshman year of college, and I spoke to my advisor, and I was like, told her everything that was going on. At that time, I had registered to study abroad in Prague, Czech Republic that summer.
What?
And I looked at her and I was like, I want to go still. Like, because I hate taking back my word. Like, if I say I'm going to do something, I'm going to do it. And
Absolutely.
if I don't do it, like, no, that's just not that. I don't go with that. So I was like, I already told everybody I was going. Like, I had plans to go. I already started saving up. But I started using my savings to sustain myself. My study abroad fund, I started using that to sustain myself, like basic needs like food or gas. I'm not living with my mom. I'm not depending on her for her cooking or anything. And she was like, you need to really consider if you're even going to do school, because right now you're at a time where either you study or you work full time just to sustain yourself and your living.
Yeah.
And I was like, damn, like, I really got to choose right now. And she's like, I don't think you should go to Prague. That's not your priority. And I was like, that hurt me, because I was like, no, I said I was going to go, you know. And then after that, I was reflecting, and I was like, no, I'm going to school and I'm going to graduate.
Yeah.
And I was like, I don't know how the hell I'm going to do it. But I was working at the time at a hotel downtown, so I was still working there. But I did my classes at that time, and then my uncle had gotten in a really bad accident, so he was out of work. And then my cousin, because it was a household of 4 of us, I was the 4th one. And then my cousin was also living there, and she got laid off. She got let go. And then my aunt was the only one sustaining all 4 of us. So it got really heavy too. They were like, Lily, I don't know how we're going to do this. And I was like, oh shoot, like, don't even worry. And I remember going to the financial aid office like, hey, this is going on, because my advisor was like, go check out the financial aid, they can help you.
Yeah.
I went to financial aid office not once, not twice, but 3 times. The first time I went, and I was like, hey, like, you're timid, you're embarrassed, like, you got to expose yourself, and that it sucks because you're in a place of vulnerability.
And you might see these people walking down the hallway,
and it just makes you feel a little bit like
exposed. They know your business and don't even know you. Oh, that's the girl that
and it just makes me feel a little shameful too, like, just embarrassed. And so I had told them a little bit what's going on, not too much, like, hey, you know what, like, I got kicked out of my house, I'm not allowed to go back. And this girl told me, she's like, oh, well, my little sister got kicked out, but she was back in 3 days, so you're gonna be fine. And I literally, she was like, just fill out this paperwork, maybe something that can help you, but right now there's nothing we could do. And I was like,
thanks.
And I left. I went again. Same thing. It was just like, oh, if you're still under the age of 24, you're still counted as a dependent student. You have to be 24 or older to be an independent student through FAFSA. Because FAFSA, my estimated cost of attendance was messing me up, because my mom, according to the government, makes good money, which she does. I'm not going to deny it. She worked her butt off to get to where she's at without a degree, but still not enough to pay through my college or sustain me. And I grew up very like, you want something, you're gonna get it. I'm not gonna hand it to you, type of thing, And so I was like, my EFC is messing me up. I'm applying to all these scholarships and nobody's giving me anything, because they're like, well, your mom has enough money to pay for it, like, why don't you just
ask your mom?
Yeah. And so then I was like, you know what, let me talk to an advisor from the back. So then I went to set up a meeting, same thing. Oh, well, do you have communication with your mother? And I'm like, I mean, she texts me, she calls me, but I don't want to speak to her. Like, I went 5 months without speaking to my mom.
Yeah.
Like, I was just not having it. Didn't go over, like, nothing. Didn't tell her anything about my life. It didn't matter to me. And they were like, well, as long as you have some form of communication with your mother, that means you could get your tax information. So that means you could qualify. You could do FAFSA. And so that meant my EFC was going to go way up because my estimated cost of attendance, or excuse me, not my EFC, my family contribution,
right,
was going to go way up. So meaning less FAFSA for me, less scholarships for me, and stuff. So that's surprising me. That I'm really happy that they were able to help you out when you went. But when I went, they were not having it. And so when I went to this event and spoke out to them and said, "Is there any training for the financial people?" Because they obviously don't know how difficult it is for a student to, first of all, be vulnerable and be open up about that in the first place, but all the other stuff that they're trying to go through while still trying to push themselves for a better education and get a degree. I was like, is there any? And then everybody started snapping. They're like, yes, exactly. So I was like, okay, cool. Like, I'm not the only one that experiences. So, but that's so crazy that you say that you had a good experience, which I'm grateful that you did.
Yeah. Well, that wasn't my only experience with financial aid. That's why I said I didn't want to talk to the people up in front. I was like, let me talk to the people in the back, because it's the same thing. Like you said, it was while they were up there and they were students and they were student employees, and I'm sure they had been trained. I feel like, and this is just my opinion, I feel like sometimes, we get jobs as students because we need some money. You know what I'm saying? And whatever department might be hiring and you can get in, okay, well, that's where I'm going. It's not that I necessarily have a passion about this. I have a passion to do this with excellence, to be well-read and go above and beyond when I am not sure about something, as opposed to just telling somebody, oh, girl, you'll be all right. I mean, why not go a step and be above and beyond and go, you know what, I'm not really sure. I haven't heard this situation before. I mean, a family member of mine was affected, but they weren't a student here. Let me go and grab somebody in management to see if they can offer you any experience. Just going above and beyond. All they had to do is ask somebody else. You know what I'm saying? So every experience that I was afforded through financial aid wasn't always great, especially if you call. It just happened to be this particular time that I went. There was an individual there who was willing to go above and beyond, and that's what I believe is great about MSU students. That right there made me believe one of the taglines that we have. It made me feel like that I belonged here, because not only was somebody willing to help me, somebody was willing to go above and beyond. Regardless of who I was, what I looked like, they saw a situation. They heard my concern and they were like, oh, I think I know somebody who can help. Not me, but let me refer you to somebody else. You know what I'm saying? And unfortunately, it's kind of the luck of the draw. When you went those 3 times, you unfortunately got somebody who wasn't willing to go above and beyond. But I believe that as students of MSU Denver, we are geared to assist the non-traditional student.
That's true.
We didn't just come out of high school. We're not all living at home with our parents. We don't all have our parents' grace or our family's grace or money to be able to take care of everything. There are some of us who are just outside of that scope. You know what I'm saying? And so to know that there's an institution that was built like this for us, and there's a community of people that suffer from the same situations or suffer from the same trials and that are able to understand and assist us, that within itself creates graduates.
Yeah.
I can't imagine myself at CU Boulder having this go on. You know what I'm saying, girl? Exactly. I feel like they would have scooted me to the side just like you, like, you need to get over that next. You know what I'm saying? So I think that it's important for us to keep these conversations open, keep these conversations relevant, and let people know that, hey, we are geared toward the non-traditional student. We are here for people who decided on academic excellence, that decided on education regardless as to what's going on in their life. They're living, they're working, they have things that they have going on outside of trying to perform academically. Excellent academically. So I'm appreciative for this community, and I feel like through avenues like this, when we're open and we're talking about what's going on, then we're able to reach more people and let people know, hey, you're not the only one out here that needs help. You're not the only one out here who is like going through. And I feel like when you make that that discussion open and you make it available to people, then you have the opportunity to be able to reach more people and save more people and help more people. So that's why, again, right now this discussion that we're having is so vital. And I'm glad that you invited me on, the girl, to talk about this, because somebody's being helped. Somebody's might be saved, just hearing what we both went through.
How do you think, why do you think you kept studying? Like right now you're still in school and you've been in school and you're like, I'm going to get this degree one way or another, but I'm still here.
Girl, I'm trying to figure out how I'm going across the stage. Am I going to crawl? Am I going to walk? Am I going to run? Am I going to jog? I'm going to do something. I ain't figured it out yet, but I'm going to make it across that stage. I feel like I had to believe in myself. First of all, I had to decide what it was that I wanted. And once I decided what I wanted, I also made the decision that I was not going to let anything get in my way. And girl, when I made that decision, I felt like somebody was checking me on it. Like, oh, you ain't finna let anything get in your way? Okay, well, how about this? How about that? You know what I'm saying? And I feel like it was testing my integrity, and it was testing my strength. It was testing my tenacity. It was just testing me. You know what I'm saying? Like, do you really mean what you said? And girl, I had to ask myself, girl, did you mean what you said when you... Because I didn't just pick a degree. Now, I didn't flip a catalog and say, this one. I'm making my degree. I am an IDP student. And for those of you who are not familiar with IDP, it's an individualized degree program where you have the opportunity to create your own degree. And so I'm combining a degree in nutrition with integrative healthcare. And that process within itself is not easy. You have to make a proposal to the university and say, hey, I propose that this is going to be a great degree that you need to offer later on for someone else to choose. And they say, okay, you propose that, then how is this going to work? What classes are you going to take? Why are you taking these classes? What are people going to learn? What type of jobs are going to be afforded to people once they get this degree? I have to write all of that on top of keeping my GPA higher than normal, because I am creating a degree and not just doing something regular. And at the end of the day, I still have to work. I still have to raise my child. I still have to, there's so much that I have to do. There's so much in it. I must have looked at myself like, girl, is you crazy? And I felt like maybe I was a little half crazy, but I was determined.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? And I believed in myself, and I believed in the dream, and I believed in the intuition that I had that told me this was going to be great. But what didn't come with that dream was, you know what they say, the dream is free, but honey, the hustle is sold separately, okay? I didn't know, I was not advised that homelessness or being unhoused or being discriminated against or prejudicial situations were going to arise and affect my affect how I walk around this campus, affect whether or not I hold my head up high, or whether or not I come back, or whether or not I continue on. But at the end of the day, just like anything else, I had to go back. Even when I was crying, when I was upset, when I was feeling down, I had to go back to the law of primary reference, is what I call it. What was my original intent? I said, girl, I'm trying to create jobs. I'm trying to create an opportunity for somebody else, and I'm trying to create a legacy for my family. This is not only for me. This is for everybody. This is for anybody that was told that they wasn't nothing, that they wasn't going to be nothing, that they could only do, that they are restricted to.
Yes.
This is for those people. And so I don't have an option to give up. Girl, I got to walk around here with my chin up, chest out every day. Regardless,
yes,
because it's not just for me. It's for all of us. You know what I'm saying? It's for the people who don't know that they belong here. It's my job to let them know they do. So that's why I keep going. That's why I don't give up. That's why I still continue to choose to operate in academic excellence. Now, does perfection exist? No, ma'am. I ain't found it. If you do, come holler at me. Let me know where you found it, because I don't know where to get that. And so knowing that I will not ever at any point in my life be perfected, I feel like, okay, then the best thing I could do is I can be transparent, and I can be a woman of integrity. I can say what I mean and mean what I say. I can stick to the promises that I make. If I say, just like you said, your word, if I give you my word and I tell you I'm going to do something, I'm going to do it. I gave myself my word, and I said that I was going to walk across the stage. I was going to complete this degree, and that somebody was going to be helped because of it. So I ain't got no choice but to keep it moving. I got to keep it academically excellent. so that somebody else will be able to benefit, so that a legacy will be able to be created later. That's what it was for me. It's again, it's not just me. It's for all of us, girl.
That's awesome. That's what matters the most. It's your son when he gets older. He has every right, and you're the prime example. That's beautiful,
girl.
That's I believe in that 111%.
Girl, your brother watched what happened. He watched you leave. He knows what happened, but he sees you continuing on, doing what you're doing, and not just getting up, going to class every day. You're doing extra things. You're committed to your community. You're committed to your church. You're committed to your sorority. Like, you are out here excelling, girl. You're operating in excellence. You know what I'm saying? Each and every day. It's a decision, you know?
Yes, it is.
And all we have is a moment.
You.
What you going to do in this moment? You going to make it great, or you just going to chill, you know? And so I just appreciate women like you that continue to strive forward and not stand still and be stagnant or to look back, because all we have is this moment. The future doesn't exist, and neither does the past, girl. We can't do nothing about 5 minutes ago. We ain't going to ever get it back. So all you got is this moment, and you choose to maximize it. And I give you much respect and much love for that. I see you, and it inspires me, like, to just keep going, you know?
Girl, that's exactly how I feel when I see you. I want you to thank you for all of that. I love you so much. I love you so much.
You know you my boo, girl.
You know, oh my goodness. I love you so much. Always supporting me. Tell me about Black Spice. How did that come about?
Oh, girl. Y'all don't know about Black Spice vegan soul cuisine. So this is my vegan catering business. And this was birthed out of trial and tribulation. It's not anything that I had already had in my head that I had planned on making. It just popped up through trial. And there was a situation to where there was a family crisis that happened. And after that crisis, my family got sort of divided. You were either here or you were there, you know? And I ended up on the there side, the black sheep, just all there by myself, okay?
Yeah.
And with that, I was just left with me and my son. We didn't have the support of any family, any friends, or anything like that. And after that happened, I had decided to go to school, and I registered in MSU as a dancer. And I began to dance and just kind of find myself again. I wanted to do something to feel good about myself. And so that's why I chose dance. And I ended up injuring myself, not warming up before a performance. I tore my rotator cuff. And once I tore my rotator cuff, I went to the doctor, and they told me that I needed surgery immediately because I had torn it so bad. And because I had waited so long, I had tendonitis and some other stuff that was going on because of the injury. And I was afraid. I was like, man, it's just me. You know, if I'm cut up and like laid up in the bed, you know, who's going to be taking care of my son? Who is going to get this work done? Who's going to be making this money? Who's going to be paying this rent? Girl, I ain't got that kind of support.
Mm-hmm.
And so I had to figure it out. Like, what can I do? How can I heal myself without getting surgery? And again, I was already enrolled as a student, but you know, any student here at MSU knows that you got to take your general education electives or credits before you can go to your upper division. Yeah. Well, I was still satisfying some of my general eds, and I had to take this class called Dynamics of Integrative Healthcare. Oh, no. It was, Dynamics of Healthcare, something like that. Shout out to Dr. Kelsey Apsleen. She was a great professor, okay? So in this class, in this healthcare class, we began to like talk about the body and talk about nutrition and how food affected the body, and more specifically how food affected particular populations and particular cultures. And I began to feel like this fire being ignited in me. Like, it was interesting, and I like went down the rabbit hole. I wanted to know more. And I wanted to be able to apply that to my life. And so through Dr. K and her amazing curriculum, I just started to research this stuff on my own. Like, man, if this food is healing, then there's got to be a combination of foods that I could put together to heal this arm. I'm not getting surgery. And I had received from my church a while back a prophecy as being a healer. And it's like, it's a legacy that runs in my family. And it also corresponds to my sun sign. I'm a Pisces. And if anybody knows anything about Pisces, like, we're very spiritual and very open and very connected, whether it's through like earth or metaphysical properties, whatever you think. Like, Pisces are always dreamy and floaty. I know y'all know.
What y'all know about that?
We creative and all of that. You know, we be coming up with some stuff, right? So I had already received that, and I was like, man, I think if I could figure out a way to heal myself, then I think I might be onto something. I mean, again, I'm already in school. I'm learning about this education, and again, it ignited me. And so I started to research alkaline foods and the healing properties of them. And once I did that research, I put together like a couple of different dishes and just seasoned them very well. Because, I mean, I got a little Southern roots. You know, I could burn. Me and the women in my family, we could burn.
Yes.
So, you know, hey. And so I combined my knowledge of culinary spices with the knowledge I had received from nutrition about healing and restorative foods. And Black Spice was birthed. But at that time, it didn't have a name. It was just food. And then my son, 7 years old at the time, was like, Mom, you got to sell this. Like, this is amazing. This food is great. And I just thought it was cute because I'm like, oh, my God, it's my son. He likes my food. He's so sweet. And I didn't take it seriously until there was an opportunity that arose. I am a member of Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated. Ooh, for any of my sorors that are out there. They came up with this event called The Power of Self-Care. And this event was going to be focusing on wellness, health, and beauty. And at the bottom of this flyer, they said that they were looking for food vendors. And I was like, oh, my God, I think I'm going to apply to be a vendor, you know, because I'm like, my son said he liked this food. Let me try and see if anybody else liked this food. So, girl, I rolled up a few little tacos and got my little stuff together and rolled up to the Power of Self-Care. Ooh, it was a mess, girl. My first event was just about a disaster as far as organization goes. But I did it nonetheless. I still went and I set up and I started serving a few tacos and I started noticing people kept coming back to the booth. And before I knew it, girl, I looked around. I'm like, wow, these people standing around here. If they don't clear out, like, what they doing? Girl, they was in line for Black Spice.
Yes.
I was like, oh, snap. And I sold out of my food. I was completely surprised. I did not expect it at all. And so someone while I was there told me about Brother Jeff's Cultural Center and that they had a space available for vendors to set up for free. And so I started coming down to Black Spice. I started coming down to the Cultural Center and serving Black Spice, and people started getting, you know, hip to it. They were like, man, they started telling people, and more people started coming, and it just kind of birthed itself, you know, from there. And there was a meaning behind the name. You know, you think about Black, and people, if you know me, you know I'm African American. I identify with being Black. And people are thinking, oh, you called it Black Spice because you're a Black girl. And I'm like, no, actually. I have an education in cosmetology. I'm also a licensed cosmetologist and barber. Plug. And there was this thing that we had called color theory. And they tell you about different colors. Well, colors, Black is not one color. Black is a combination of all colors. Okay? And so my cuisine focuses on a fusion of Latin flavors and East Indian flavors and African American flavors like soul food, right? And so when you put all of those together, these different colors, just like you do in any type of color theory, crayons, markers, or whatever, it's going to make Black. And so I love spice as well. Everything got a little bit of spice on it, girl. And so when I was looking at where these spices were coming from, they were Latin flavors, they were African flavors, and they were also Indian flavors. And so I looked at it. I was like, well, when you put this together, it's Black. You know, and this is what I believe when you hear people say Black is beautiful. I mean, the combination of all the colors and cultures together is beautiful. And not only is it beautiful, it got spice to it, girl. So that's the meaning, like, behind my name. It's a combination of cultures of color and the spices that they traditionally serve within their cuisine.
Wow.
So that's what I focus on.
I had no idea this whole time. You didn't tell me.
Girl, well, see, what happened was I was too busy feeding you tacos.
They are so good, by the way. Oh, my gosh.
Yes.
So good.
Oh, my gosh. Good. Yeah, girl. So, you know, again, it was something that was birthed through pain. I injured myself. And I just elected to do something different. You know, I'm one of those people that I'm like, man, you don't always got to go with the status quo. I don't care who told you. A doctor who had a PhD or whatever doctors have, an MD, whatever she had, honey, told me I needed surgery. And I needed it immediately. And I was like, no, that's not what my heart is telling me. My heart is telling me that this can be healed. And I feel like anything that comes out of the ground of Mother Earth is good and is blessed. It is for us. You just have to know how to use it and the different combinations of what can work for you.
Wow.
So that's what I put my research in, girl, behind, and I put it in my food. That's my pinky toe that I put in that food, girl. That's that love you feel, you taste in black spice. That's my pinky toe one time.
Stephanie, how do you think your faith has been sustained throughout? Girl, you've been through hell and back times 3.
Child, girl, spent the night. I had a layover and everything in hell, and then came back. You said, how is my faith sustained?
How have you sustained your faith through it all? Like, how is it like,
girl,
you just kept going, you're like, God's got me?
It was like, I had to get real with God. Like, I had one of them fights. You know what I'm saying? I don't know.
I know one of them fights. I had a few.
Girl, I had a legit fight with God. Like, we was arguing. You know what I'm saying? And I was being real. I was being real disrespectful too. Okay, it was not a nice, gentle conversation. I was just being real. I was being transparent. I think that was the point in where I started to speak aloud that I would live a life of transparency. Because I said, you know, if I cannot speak my true feelings to my God, the one who created me, the one who made me, the one who knew me before my mother knew me, if I can't speak to you and tell you exactly how I feel in the tone, in the manner, in the emotion that I feel it in, then who are you? And should I even be sharing anything with you? Girl, I had questions and I wanted answers. And I was like, you know what? I'm not about to fight for you. I'm not about to serve you. I'm not about to affiliate with you unless you give me answers. I have questions, and that's all that I have. You are the answer from what I understand, and I need the answer. Are you ready to give it to me? I'm ready to receive it. Girl, honey.
You buckled down.
Hey, I'm trying to tell you, I got real with him, and I don't even know how long this whole little conversation or whatever, but it was hours of just like, I don't know if I want to call it an out-of-body experience or whatever, but it was this moment that I had, this ongoing moment that I had where it was connection with me and spirit, like one-on-one. It's you and me. Let's go. You know what I'm saying?
I believe it.
And once I was able to be transparent with God, and I was able to tell, you know, exactly how I felt, the things that I wanted, the hurts that I had, the betrayal that I let it all go. I let it all out, and then I let it all go. And once I was able to do that, and he was like, now you're in a place where you can receive healing. Now you're in a place where you can hear me. Now you're in a place where you can go where I tell you to go, where I can show you. It wasn't even that he had to tell me where to go. It was like I was able to be so connected that I didn't have to listen to anyone out of me. I could hear literally in my own ear. I could feel in my heart. I was drawn, I was pulled through my spirit man, the places that I needed to go, the people that I needed to have relationships, the jobs that I didn't need to apply for. Like every moment of the day, girl, I was thinking, ooh, I need to go get a job, girl. I need to go. I mean, because it would have been so easy to stop what I was doing, because what I was doing was hard. It was hard on a daily basis to grind, you know what I'm saying? And to grind with excellence, and to like do it with vigor, you know what I'm saying? With zeal and tenacity, whatever, all of them adjectives, you know what I'm saying? Like I wasn't half doing nothing. And so, again, I just had to be transparent, and in that transparency was power, because at that point I feel like the fear, any type of fear, false evidence appearing real in my life was dissolved. I don't carry that emotion no more. Girl, I ain't ever afraid. I'm not fearful. I don't fear any situation, because I know that I know that I know who I am. I know whose I am. I know I was made. I was put here for a purpose, and I know that I have a purpose, and can't nobody tell me anything outside of that. It doesn't matter what's going on in this moment or that moment. At the end of the day, I know the experience that I had, and I know that it was real. I know that it is real, and I'm shown that every single day when each of these blessings continue to overtake me, regardless as to what situations occur and happen outside of me. And you know, girl, be crazy stuff that be happening around me. I'll be finding myself you know what I'm saying? And I'm not perfect. Sometimes I end up creating these situations, you know what I'm saying? Or sometimes I find myself in these situations. But regardless, I'm blessed and I'm highly favored. Like, God don't play about me, girl. He love him some Stephanie. You know what I'm saying? Like, yes. I be acting a fool, Amen. But you know what happens when you got a kid that act a fool? You be like, oh, she get on my nerves. gifts. But I'm about to go ahead and get her this Barbie doll that she had wanted, girl, because she's so cute. I love her. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's how I feel like God do me, because he know I'ma always be me. I'm not trying to be fake, like, oh, Lord, I come humbly before you through the throne. I'm not about to do none of that. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, I'm talking to God just like I'm talking to you right now. You know? And it's funny because somebody used to say something to me. They're like, be careful how you act. You know, you might be entertaining angels unaware. I'm like, people just be repeating stuff that they hear. You know what I'm saying? And don't think about what they just said. Let's break that down for those that are in the spiritual community. You know what I'm saying? If you've ever heard this saying, be careful the way that you act, because you may be entertaining angels unaware. Okay, well, let's talk about angels. Angels are spiritual beings, and I believe that they're in the same realm with God. Would you disagree? Angels are in the same realm with God. Yeah. Like, they know God. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, they know God,
like he the homie.
Like,
you know what I'm saying?
That's the boss. Like, you could go straight to him. Like,
exactly.
We don't. We just spiritually have that connection, but we're not seeing him. We're not there with him in heaven.
Absolutely. Okay, so I feel like an angel would have some sort of supernatural properties to them, right? They're not natural like us walking around. So with them being in the same realm with God and them being a little more, you know, supernatural or whatever have you, if for some reason they came down to earth to come look at Stephanie and see what I'm doing, they already know who I am. And they know I'm about to act a fool, or they know I'm crazy, or whatever it is you want to call it. They know who I am, just like God knows who I am. You know what I'm saying? So what do you mean I have to be careful how I act? This angel knows exactly who I am. They know who they came down to see. That's why I'm entertaining them. Like, we finna go get entertained because, you know, Stephanie about to act a fool right now. Come on, y'all, let's go. Big Mike, come on, man. Gabriel, we about to go see Stephanie, y'all, because she about to act a fool in a minute. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, that's why I have a passion about words, and I make it a point to say what I mean and mean what I say, and not try to fill space with words, because it's pointless. You know what I'm saying? And when I do things, I try to think about the energy that it takes to do that. And I'm not about to waste all this energy trying to be fake, or waste all this energy trying to do things that are outside of me, you know what I'm saying, or whatever, or giving energy to things that I don't believe in. You know, I'm just going to keep it real, you know, or whatever. So again, being able to sustain my faith, what helps me to sustain my faith is to live a spirit of transparency. And I say transparency and not truth, because I feel like when you're transparency, you're just like this window. There ain't much you got to say, because I can see you. I see that your hair is long. I see that it's brown. I see that you got some beat eyebrows. I see that you ain't got to tell me none of this. I can see it, you know, but at the same time, you can open up your mouth and say, well, you know, I used a little such and such to fix my eyebrows. Oh, okay. Well, that's a little more informative, but I can see that. You ain't got to open your mouth and tell me. So that's the way that I try to walk around. That's the way that I intend to walk around every moment, is just being transparent. What you see is what you get. I'm not going to lie about who I am. I'm not going to fake or try to act a certain way around a certain demographic or a certain organization. I'm always going to be this same exact individual, just maybe in a different setting. You know? And so I feel like being that and knowing that my God supports and protects and is loving still of me because he made me, that alone is what sustains me. It don't matter what nobody else's opinion is about me, because it's an opinion. That ain't none of my business. And we're not talking about opinions. We're talking about facts. The fact is that I was made by the Most High. You know what I'm saying? Yes. He knows exactly who I am. Yes. He knows what I am, and he knows why I'm here and who I'm here to impact. And so I let him have the final word. I let him say and determine, not necessarily determine, but his word is above anything else.
Amen. You
know, anybody else's word regarding me, what I'm doing, is neither here nor there. So I just keep it pushing, knowing that God got my back no matter how, if I'm looking crazy today or if I'm looking clean, you know, my God got me. That's what unconditional love is about. So I guess that's what sustains me. Unconditional love, transparency, and unconditional love.
All that to say.
Hey, hallelujah.
Yes. Hallelujah. That's good.
Girl.
Well, Thank you so much for being on Girl Talk, World Talk. I love you so much. You have a special place in my heart, and I'm so glad. I know it's not a coincidence that God made us cross paths.
Absolutely.
And it's been 2 years, and I can't wait to see what God has in store for you. And thank you for taking the time for being here. You're a busy woman.
Girl.
You got a lot to do.
Honey, I'm trying to tell you, I be working in my sleep. Y'all just don't know it.
Well, thank you so much. And
thank you for having me, love.
Thank you for
I
being
appreciate
here.
you.
Thank you.